It was great to see everyone on the road last week, first at SBJ's Tech Week in New York City, and then MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference in Boston. I'll just say, there are plenty of interesting people and interesting stories in sports business right now. And this is your morning Buzzcast for Monday, March 10th. I'm Abe Madcore. Another weekend, another sports league launches as Shaun White's Snow League made its debut in Aspen over the weekend. While no figures were released, reports from Aspen were that the inaugural event was well attended. Shaun White said they reached their attendance goals, but of course no information was provided around ticket sales or attendance information. There was interest in premium hospitality as the Snow League Club, which is a 3-story temporary structure hosting VIPs, was sold out over the weekend. We will see how this does. And remember, there hasn't been a lot of energy around snow or winter sports. Competitions like the X Games or the Dew Tour or the Burton Open haven't been very strong or high profile, and some have even shuttered. So we don't know how long Shaun White's venture will last. The tour has announced an initial $15 million in funding and 3 more stops over the next year. And there are goals to expand to a dozen events in the future. At the Snow League on Saturday, the focus was on snowboarding. Each of the boarders received a $5,000 appearance fee. That's a rarity in snow sports. And they will compete for a total of $1.6 million in prize money over the course of the season. The event was also on NBC's Peacock, and so now White will take his Snow League international as he tries to continue to build this new effort. Let's focus on one of the more intriguing, influential, and important executives in sports business, and that is Mark Walter and his TWG Global Group. They have controlling interest in the Dodgers, Chelsea, the Professional Women's Hockey League, as well as stakes in the Lakers and other ventures. And now it's expanding into F1 as a big announcement on Friday as Cadillac's F1 team was formally approved to join the series in 2026 and will become the 11th team in the series. Now, this team is owned by General Motors and TWG Motorsports, and that's a division of TWG Global, co-owned by Walter and Thomas Tull. So Cadillac F1 will be the second American-owned team joining Haas F1, and Cadillac's F1 arrival comes as there is, of course, more Formula One business in the United States. 3 Grand Prix, Miami, Austin, Vegas. There was just one 5 years ago, and they have been working on this deal for years. There were a lot of obstacles. Remember, it was started by Michael Andretti, but now it's part of Mark Walter's growing sports business empire, and in a boost to Formula One, General Motors will also come into the sport as a full manufacturer. So big news in F1, Cadillac, and U.S. involvement in F1. In another Mark Walter connection, do not sleep on the PWHL as it continues to impress and it's having a strong season number 2. Attendance is strong. More evidence came over the weekend. I was going to go to this game in Boston, but I had to come back to Charlotte. But the Boston Fleet played before a sold-out crowd of nearly 6,000 at Boston University's arena on Saturday. So why is this important? Well, the team usually plays about 30 miles south at their usual home rink, the Tsongas Center in Lowell. But there is a lot of discussion that the team would draw much better playing in Boston. So the Fleet will return to BU for another home game later this month. And these 2 games will give the league an opportunity to gauge fan interest and audience data, especially with the Boston Fleet having the second lowest average attendance in the league. So they figured if they could relocate from Lowell to Boston, they'll do better at the gate. But insiders continue to tell me how this league is really pleased with year 2, both in terms of attendance and revenue. And yes, while revenue is up, expenses are up too. So that's what you need to watch. But again, Mark Walter, very supportive of this effort, and he believes this is a key part of his sports portfolio. So I am really keeping my eye on more business efforts with Mark Walter. Let's move on. Well, don't look for NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and Knicks owner Jim Dolan to have lunch or cocktails on the calendar anytime soon, as their relationship continues to be chilly at best. We know how Dolan has continued to call out the league office over operations and salaries and spending, and now Jim Dolan has called for a resolution to be voted on at this month's NBA Board of Governors meeting that will ask for clearer accounting of the league's finances. So he's looking at operating costs, he's looking at headcount, he's looking at all capital expenditures for all league operations. It is clear that Jim Dolan is not pleased with how much the league is spending, and he is a real thorn in the league side. So Dolan is asking for a number of things. He wants full details for all costs, headcount related to both the league's upcoming new media deal, which starts next season, and also he wants a budget for any possible NBA European League operations. Dolan has continued to jab at the NBA office for some time. He resigned from all NBA committees. He said the NBA didn't want to hear from him. He's also criticized the national media deal, and now he brings this resolution to the floor. What is Jim Dolan's endgame? Hard to know, but he continues to be a thorn in the side of the NBA's league office. While up in Boston at the Sloan Analytics Conference, I sat in on a panel on emerging sports leagues and listened as Tomorrow Sports' Mike McCarley talked about how they launched the TGL. And that new league also won an award at Sloan for the use of technology in an emerging sports league. Now the TGL is looking to expand. Our Josh Carpenter is reporting that the TGL has retained Proskauer for its expansion process that would likely see a new team added sometime in the next 2 seasons. There are currently 6 teams in the league, and the initial franchises went for close to $50 million. And I have said on the Buzzcast, there is a lot of interest in what the TGL is doing and what they're building. And each week, there has been a number of leading sports investors at Palm Beach Gardens SoFi Center to take in the action and learn more about the sport. So a number of bold-faced names, the Wilf family, who owns the Vikings, the Orlando Magic, the San Francisco Giants, officials from the Lions, the Ravens, Monumental Sports, and others have all been at the SoFi Center taking in the action, learning more about TGL, and that shows the level of interest in this league among the sports community. Meanwhile, SBJ's Austin Karp looks at viewership of the first year of the TGL, and the audience for the regular season was not only younger than most other major sports on US TV, but it was also well above what ESPN and ESPN2 had in the same viewing windows last year. It was up 21% of what ESPN had in those same windows last year. Also, the median age of 51.9 years old is behind only the NBA, and it's certainly younger than the NFL, which was 53.7. Baseball's median viewership age is 60. Live Golf's median viewership age, almost 62. And so TGL comes in just under 52 years old, viewership higher than what ESPN had in the same windows last year. So bottom line, I'm sure ESPN and TGL officials pleased with those numbers. And finally, if you read one story over the weekend, read ESPN.com's deep dive into how the University of North Carolina landed coach Bill Belichick. It's well done, a lot of insight into it, and a few things aren't a surprise. Mostly that this search was done at the highest levels of the university and not really at the level of the athletic director. Here's what else you learned. Belichick first sent word of his interest in the North Carolina job by reaching out to his longtime friend Marco Rubio. Meanwhile, North Carolina Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham had his sights on former UNC player and current Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith for the job. But the school's board members were adamant that Belichick was the school's best option, and it really led to two searches, one by Bubba Cunningham and one by the UNC board members. Eventually, they made a deal, and to make the numbers work, the school had to commit to spending university funds to cover increased expenses for football. There's so much in this piece. Again, a really good read outlining the intrigue of this hire, and it's certainly worth your time. And so that is your morning Buzzcast for Monday, March 10th. I'm Abe Madcore. Thanks for listening. Stay healthy. Be good to each other. I'll speak to you tomorrow.